Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another class on creative writing today. It's good to see you all back here again. I'm going to say hi to everybody really quick here. There's more people coming in all the time, but I see Addie, Andrew, Anne, Avery, Ethan, Fallon, Holly, Isabella, Jane, Lila, Logan, Lorna, Mason, Shanna, Time, WJ. I think you're new here. Hi, welcome. Glad that you're here to talk about writing today. Yesterday, we talked about the structure of great stories. We talked about the hero's journey and how you can make a really fun story by sending your character on a series of steps that will make like a fun, satisfying story for them. Today, we're going to talk more about those characters and how you make those characters really interesting. As always, if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. I see people are saying hi already. Hi, Ethan. Hi, Lorna. Hi, Avery. I'm happy that you're here too. Hi, Shanna and Logan. I'm glad that you like the classes. Thank you. So hi, everyone. So let's get right into it. We actually have to end off 5 minutes earlier than normal today for the next webinar that's starting right after ours. So I'm going to try to jump into it and start off a little bit quicker so that we can get to everything that we're going to talk about today. Today, I'm also going to have you do a little bit more practice writing. So get ready with the Q&A box. Be ready to make up some examples today. What I'm going to have you do is every type of thing that makes every suggestion we have for making great characters, I'm going to have you come up with something right on the spot. So each of those qualities or things about a great character, I want you to think up of a way that you could make a character that way and quickly describe it in the Q&A box. And I will read out some of those examples for each of those areas. I probably won't have time to read everybody's answer, but I want you to know I read everything that you guys type in the Q&A box. I see all of your messages. Thank you every time you put those in there. All right, let's get started. So, writing characters people want to read about. That's the goal today. How do we make really great characters that are really fun and really interesting? What makes a great character? For all the examples I'm going to use today, or the main examples I'm going to use, I was looking through your answers yesterday of what people, what kind of stories people recognized, what stories they weren't familiar with. And it seemed like almost everybody was familiar with the Marvel examples that I used. I think you guys probably love those movies just as much as I do. So today I'm going to use a lot of Marvel character examples for what makes a character great. You know, if we think of other examples, we might use other ones too, but just for fun, today is going to be a Marvel day and we're going to use lots of Marvel characters. Okay, what makes a great character? Great characters are usually likable. Now, what does that mean? A great character shouldn't be really mean or really, it should be somebody that you want to be around them, hang out with them, and go on an adventure with. Because if you're going to write a story or a book, or you're going to write a script for a play or a movie, you're asking your readers to spend some of their valuable time reading your story, reading your adventure. And you want the main character that they're going to be reading about to be someone that they want to spend time with. I chose Tony Stark here because everybody seems to like Iron Man. Everybody likes Tony Stark. And I also picked him because he actually has some qualities about him that he isn't always the best human being in the world. He isn't always the best person, especially in his first movies, but we still like him. There's a lot of things about Tony Stark that even when he was being a little bit rude at times, even when he didn't have the best goals or, you know, he didn't have, you know, he wasn't always the best person, we still liked him a lot. We were very interested in him and we really wanted to go on the adventure and see where his journey was going to take him. So what are the qualities that made him likable? The person might be funny. They might be, you know, interesting in that there are activities that they're involved in that are, you know, really interesting or fun. But one of the main things that makes a character likable is they probably help other people, or they do something to help those around them. There's a famous piece of advice for people that like to write scripts, like movie scripts or play scripts. There's a famous book called Save the Cat. And in this book, they advise you have to make your character towards the beginning of your story save the cat. And what they mean by that is they have to do something. They have to go out of their way to actually help another person or an animal, or do something that shows you that even with any flaws they might have, that deep down, they're a good person. This is somebody that you can root for, that you can go on an adventure with, because even if they have problems, they actually are a good person. So this might be that they literally go out of their way to help an animal out of the road or out of a tree, or they do something there to show you that they are, you know, they're good. You can have a character in your story that's kind of not a great person, but if you have them do something to save the cat or help somebody else, or show that they, you know, they are a good person and they maybe just need to work on themselves, that will make your readers kind of, you know, like that person enough that they're willing to wait for them to change. They're willing to go on that journey with them and see how they change, because they've already seen a little bit. They've seen them do something to, you know, you like them a little bit because of what they did, and you root for them. You really want them to improve and get better. So Tony Stark here at the beginning of his first movie, he makes weapons for a living. He seems mostly motivated on, you know, making money. He doesn't seem like the best person in the world, but he's funny. He does seem like he is probably loyal to his friends. He tries to, you know, if you've seen the movie, it came out in 2008. He goes out of his way to try to help another person that he's trapped with towards the beginning of the movie. And you really, at this point, you really like Tony Stark and you really want him to improve and be better. So that's an example of a kind of a complicated character, but definitely a likable one. Almost everybody loves Tony Stark, Iron Man. So for your first practice, I want you to describe something that could make a character, your character that you're going to make up. Describe something that they could do to make us like them. And this can be really simple. It could be a little bit more complicated, but you're just going to make up a character. You can make up a name for them or not. You could just say an alien that lands on Earth, or Sally, who's starting the 5th grade. Once you just name your character, describe something they could do that would make us like them. So off the top of my head, if Sally is starting the 5th grade and she doesn't know anybody and she sits down in the lunchroom, but she sees another kid sitting by themselves, so she goes and sits next to them and gives them her milk. That's something that would make me like that character. Oh, they look like they're nice. They themselves might be lonely, but they're going out of their way to try to help out somebody else that looks lonely too. That would be like, that's a character I can root for. That's somebody that I can support. Let's see what kind of examples you guys come up with. Fallon says he's ready to type as fast as he can. Good. Avery here says she wants to learn how to write books when she grows up. That's awesome. Or when they grow up. That's amazing. I hope what we're talking about here is helpful to that goal. Another person asks, does it have to be a new character, or can we talk about characters that we've already created before? Yeah, it can be a character that you've created before, but hopefully it is something that you're making up. You come up with a character or talk about a character that you came up with in the past. What's something that you could do to make us like them? One person says they're not familiar with Marvel at all. Well, I thought this would be one that most people knew. If you're not familiar with these movies, we'll try to tell you enough about what happened that you understand the example. And we'll also just talk about these examples in general. So you don't have to have seen the movies, but if you have, hopefully it helps. All right. Okay, so Shanna says that the character could hold the door for other people, like somebody else is walking up to a door and they hold the door open, or have the character volunteer. Yeah, those are great examples. Someone that will go out of their way to be polite and help other people or volunteer immediately makes me like that person. I think, oh, that's probably a good person. They like to help others. Mason says, the character pays for somebody else's food at the store. Yeah, that would make me go, that's a good person right there. Logan says, the character is giving people toilet paper for free. Yes. Right now in the world right now, that would definitely make me go, that is a good person right there, giving toilet paper away. Addie says, a boy walking down the street greets everyone he sees with a warm smile. See, it can be small things too. Just a person that's friendly can make us like them in the story. Lila says, Marie is starting a new school and sees another student being picked on so she could stand up for them. That's a great example. Fallon has a superhero example, very applicable to my examples today. This person sees a building falling on their way home and they run over and they help the person and they save them with their superpowers. Yeah, if that was right at the beginning of the story, I'd be like, all right, awesome. All right, great. You guys are already making a lot of examples, so thank you very much. Let's move on to the next one and keep on sharing those examples. Okay, the next advice here is that great characters have goals. They want things and they go for them. Great characters, nobody really wants to read about somebody who kind of sits around and doesn't try to accomplish anything, doesn't try to go out and achieve anything. Frankly, that kind of story could be potentially really boring. It could be interesting, but when we think of the stories that we love the most, the stories that we want to read again and again, the books that we keep on pulling off the shelf and you're like, oh, I want to read that one again. They usually have characters that have goals and they go for them. They go out and they try to achieve them. I picked this one, Captain Marvel. If you haven't seen it, at the beginning of the movie, this character, she doesn't remember most of her past. She doesn't really know where she came from. She doesn't know why she has superpowers, but she definitely wants to get her memory back and she wants to find out. And she works very hard over the course of the movie to find out what happened to her memory and why does she have these superpowers? What happened? She works very hard to find out. And it's very interesting watching the character go on this adventure. So at some point in your story, maybe the character at the beginning doesn't have a goal or doesn't have a strong goal, but at some point towards the beginning of your story, you're going to want to have your character come up with a goal. It could be a goal that somebody else gives them. Somebody else could say, hey, there's a mountain full of gold over there, like in The Hobbit. You should go help these dwarves get that gold out of the mountain. And the character goes, oh, yeah, okay, let's do that. And then after that point, they can really work hard to achieve it. Or the character can come up with the goal themselves. They decide on it and they work really hard towards it because they thought of it by themselves. So for your next practice here, describe a goal your character could have and make it something they really want. Because the bigger the goal, the more interesting it will probably be to your reader. Small goals can be interesting and they can make for good stories, but big goals can be really exciting, especially in superhero stories like we're talking about. The goal is usually save the world, and that can be really fun and exciting. But smaller stories too can be super exciting as well. Maybe they're just trying to save one person, or maybe they're just trying to save their grades so they don't, flunk out of a grade of school. Or they're just trying to save their vacation and not have their vacation fail and be boring. So whatever the goal is, come up with a goal, a strong goal for your character that they really want, and they really want to go for it. All right, let's see what we're coming up with here. Logan's making funny examples today. He says his character's goal is to find more toilet paper that they can give away for free to more people. All right. Isis says, it sounds like this character could be a villain and their goal is to defeat the good guys. Yeah. You make a really good point there that your characters in your story won't just be the good guy in the story. Your characters that are villains or the bad guys, they should probably have strong goals too. If your villain doesn't have a strong goal, they're probably going to be a boring villain. If the bad guy's goal is like, just get through the day, maybe have pizza tonight. It's like, what is going on? You need to have the character of your villain probably have an opposite goal to your good guy. They probably want opposite things. Maybe the bad guy wants to destroy the world, so the good guy wants to stop them. Or maybe the bad guy in The Hobbit, for example, one of them is the dragon. The dragon in the mountain wants to hold on to the gold. He doesn't want the dwarves and Bilbo to steal all the gold away from him. So he has a strong goal too, that he's willing to fight the dwarves, to keep his gold. And his strong goal and the main character's strong goals oppose each other. So you get conflict. It gets exciting. Let's see what else we have. Amelia says, get the girl. Yeah, in most stories with a romantic plot, if the main character is like a guy who's in love with this girl, his goal can be get that girl to go out on a date with him or marry him. If the main character is a girl, maybe she's trying to get somebody to fall in love with her. That is a simple goal, but it's a goal that has worked for thousands of books, thousands of stories since the beginning of time. Having a love plot and a goal of like love or marriage is one of the oldest but most successful goals that a character could possibly have. Shanna says that this character, Sasha, has always wanted to make a club of homeschool kids around her age so she can make friends. That's a great goal. Yeah, that'd be interesting to read about. Trying to get a group of people together and make a successful club can be harder than it sounds. Lorna says her character wants to help all animals have wonderful homes and have nice owners take care of them. That's awesome. That is a big goal too. Mason says that they have a character and the character wants to find her mom because her mom left with her dad when she was little. Yeah, finding a person, especially a family member that's missing or lost, is very interesting. It's very, it can feel very personal to the reader because we all love our families. And if one was missing, that is like one of the strongest goals you could have. Isha also has their character's goal is to find out who their parents are. That's great. Olivia points out that they're talking about in one of the Marvel movies, they say that Thor, a character, has no goal at first. That's a good point. Sometimes the character, if you want to show that a character is kind of lost and not doing so well, you don't give them a goal at first. But at the point where they get a goal or they find a new goal is usually where you see that character kind of come alive and start to get excited and do things in the story. But if you want them to look lost and not very happy, give them no goal or take their goal away. And you'll kind of have the opposite effect for that character. All right, you guys are making great examples. Let's move on to the next the next part here. Great characters have strengths or skills that make them stand out. I found this picture here of Spider-Man and the villain from his first of the new movies. This character is the Vulture. And I chose this picture because the good guy and the bad guy both have strengths or skills that make them stand out. They're different strengths and skills, but they make the character unique and they make them interesting. Peter Parker, Spider-Man here, he's very smart. Because of his superpowers, he's very athletic, but his intelligence allows him to, he makes modifications. He makes changes to his suit. He uses his intelligence a lot of different parts of the story to figure things out or accomplish things. His athletic abilities and his superpowers let him do things that nobody else can do. It makes that character really interesting to us, but also his personality, his, who's important to him in his life, his family, his connections with other people. It has made this character of Spider-Man be a popular character for decades. People have loved this character for so long because of these really interesting strengths and skills that he has that really makes this character unique. But the bad guy in this movie also has strengths and skills that make the bad guy stand out. This person is part of a group that they're very good at taking pieces of technology and changing them into, in this character's case, this flying suit and making weapons. And but at the same time, you find out in the story that the bad guy is also a dad. And I think you actually find that out pretty early, but you find out whose dad he is. And he's very protective of his family. This character's loyalty to his family is another strength that he has. So your hero and your villain can both have skills that you want them to not just be kind of another, just anybody on the street. Whatever kind of story you're telling, you have to pick some things that make that person not like everybody else. If your story is about the person trying to open an animal shelter, what makes your main character not the same as every other person? Maybe this person loves animals so much they are willing to take all of their allowance and spend it all on this animal shelter that they're trying to open in their backyard. Maybe this person is willing to risk their own safety climbing up into trees to get a stuck cat out when not just anybody would do that. So what is going to make this person different from everybody else? What skills or strengths do they have that not everybody else has? Our next practice here is going to be describe at least one specific strength your character could have. What's one skill or strength that your character has that not everybody else has? What makes them different from everybody else? Let's see what you guys are saying in the Q&A box. All right. Okay, so this viewer says, yeah, like just having different, abilities or superpowers could be their strength. The ability to lift a building and fly would definitely be a strength that they could have. Mason says that their character being really good at math is a strength or a skill that they could have. That's a great example. One viewer just joined. Hey, Milo, welcome. We're talking about creative writing and especially what makes characters really interesting to readers. So right now we're talking about giving our characters a strength or a skill that not everybody else has, can make them really stand out and be interesting. Amelia says their character having really strong abs. That's like, your abdominal muscles. Yeah, physical strength or health could be something that not everybody else has in your story. Isha says shooting lasers out of her fingernails. That's awesome. Ethan says that his character Nate is very nimble and quick. Yeah, your character could just be faster than everybody else. They don't have superpowers, but maybe they're just like a faster runner than everybody else their age. That'd be great. Shanna says her character is brave and shy, strong but slim. Awesome. Lila says Marie is very loyal and protective of her friends. Great. Anjali says that my character has dance fighting. That's awesome. Addie says that their character is really good at surviving on the streets. That's awesome. Fallon says that their character tries to be a good guy, but sometimes is forced to do bad things against his will because he's being controlled by an evil deity or an evil god. He isn't aware of this at first, but finds out later on in the story, and he tries to stop it. That is awesome. It sounds very different than, the other people in the story, probably. WJ says, my character would have a unique magic that is very rare. That is awesome. Logan says that their character has infinite hand sanitizer. Very awesome. Olivia says their character has confidence and strength. Awesome. Milo says their character is the best magician in the world. All right. Very good, guys. Well done. Let's move on to the next part. So great characters have weaknesses too. This gives them room to grow. So while you want your character to have lots of strengths and skills that set them apart, it's important that they have some weaknesses also. I chose Black Widow for this one because we find out very early on that Black Widow, while she's a good guy now, that she used to work for the bad guys and she used to be an assassin and maybe do some bad things. So in the present time of the Marvel movies, she is trying to make up for that by being one of the good guys and fighting for, helping save the world instead of maybe making it a bad place. Throughout all the Marvel movies, this was something that this character continued to do and occasionally seemed to maybe, continuously feel bad about what had happened in the past. This made the character really interesting because she was definitely always trying to grow and improve. So your character should have something that they are trying to grow or improve or fight against also. While they might have great strengths of, loyalty, and at the same time, they might also be a scaredy cat in a lot of ways. So it gives you an area that the character can work on. Characters just being totally strong and powerful, you might think that it makes the story awesome, but sometimes it can make the story a little bit boring. If the character is just good at everything, where's the excitement? Where's the challenge? It can be more fun that the character's not good at everything and they actually get challenged by the bad guys. Another Marvel character that a lot of us love is Captain America. He can't fly. He's not the strongest guy in the world. There's a lot of things that other, superheroes, even in the Marvel movies, are better at than he is. But he is honest and he is dedicated and he is, he has strong goals and he has very strong morals. And, a lot of people, he's their favorite character because while he has some weaknesses, there's, there's a balance of strength and weaknesses to the person. So your assignment for this next part is you've already given your character some strengths. Now describe at least one specific weakness your character can grow from. So what is something that they're not the best at? What is something they're actually kind of bad at? Or maybe something that they're even ashamed of? Like the person wants to be a really great basketball player, but they kind of get really nervous and afraid when they're in front of a crowd. So every time they go out in a basketball game, they miss their shots. That's a definite weakness that over the course of your story, the character could work on improving or trying to fix or overcome. Maybe a person loves animals and they want to open their animal shelter, but they're actually kind of afraid of dogs and they're afraid that a dog is going to bite them if they get too close. So over the course of your story, they try to overcome that fear so that they can achieve their goal of opening that animal shelter. Let's see what we come up with in the Q&A box here. Fallon says that reminds him of Wanda in the Marvel movies as well. Yeah. A lot of good characters, they have things in their past that they're not proud of, or they have things that they're trying to fix, or, they're trying to make up for things that they've done in the past sometimes. Isis says, in the Percy Jackson books, Percy Jackson's fatal flaw was caring about his friends too much. Okay. Yeah, maybe if he's got to save the whole world, but he stops to just save one friend, you could argue that that might be a weakness for the character. Olivia says that their character is scared to hurt or harm someone with their powers. Yeah, that's a great example. Shanna says that her character misses her family and sometimes is not as emotionally sound as other girls. Yeah, that's a great example. Ethan gives an example of a story that he really likes where the character does appear to be good at everything, but it's still a fun story. Yeah, that's a good point. It's really important to remember that for all of these suggestions and all of these, rules that we go over, they are just suggestions. Almost always, for every good rule or suggestion or example that we come up with to improve our writing, we will find examples where that's not the case in a story, that maybe a writer breaks one of these rules, but it's still a fun story. We still enjoy the story, even though maybe the character actually is good at everything. But the writer will have to find ways to make that interesting. How do you still have conflict and challenge, and how does the character grow if they're good at everything? I don't know, I might have to read that story. Anjali says, my character's weakness is ivy. I'm assuming poison ivy. I hate that stuff. Good example. WJ says that their character is oblivious to their power. I guess they don't know that they have power. So both sides in the story try to manipulate him and force him to do bad things. Yeah, that's a definite weakness that they need to overcome. They need to figure out what they can do so that they can help the good guys. Lila says Marie tends to not let her friends help her and hides her problems from them. Yeah, a lack of communication can be a major problem in stories. Addie says that Buzz is a terrible fighter who tends to run away from all of his problems. Yeah, that's a good weakness right there. Milo says that their character is able to do magic really well, but they have stage fright. Yeah, that would be tough for a magician. You're really good at it, but don't like being up on stage in front of people. That could make a really interesting story. Lorna says, my character is afraid of swans. Yeah. Good. Fallon says in their story, it was their character's fault that a family member was killed. Yeah, that's used in a lot of stories, that a family member, something happens to them, and then the character feels guilty about that and wants to, make it right somehow. You guys are coming with great examples. Good job. All right, we only have a few minutes left. I'm going to move on to the last thing we're going to talk about today, is that great characters have specific, interesting physical descriptions. Especially when, we're using some examples from movies here, but even movies, their scripts are written. Somebody had to write these descriptions of the characters before anybody could ever make a movie out of it. Especially in books, you have to make great descriptions so that your readers can picture what does this character look like in their mind. I chose the Hulk here because he's a giant green guy who gets bigger and stronger the angrier he gets. If you described him in a book, I think that'd be a really fun description, especially from this movie, describing this. He's got this war paint on one shoulder and this awesome helmet, and this, for some reason, there's a shoulder guard, but only on one shoulder. It's interesting. He's got these different Warhammer weapons, Reading about this in a book, it would be really fun if I couldn't see it, to picture all this as the author's describing it. Another great physical description that immediately comes to mind is Harry Potter. What's Harry Potter's one of the first most interesting descriptions they give? The author mentions that he has this lightning bolt shaped scar on his forehead. It's a small thing, but it's really interesting. And you always picture Harry Potter having that scar there. Harry Potter also wears, big round glasses. The author goes on to describe even the side characters are described with, what color their hair is, how does their hair look, what kind of clothes do those characters wear. I think even if no movies had ever been made out of the Harry Potter books, I think we would all still have really strong images in our mind of what the different characters look like because they're described so well. So in the last few minutes we have here, I want you to come up with a specific, interesting physical description for your character. Write a physical description of them that really would make them stand out in a crowd. What makes them really interesting? Does the person have shocking blue hair and they're 8 feet tall? Or does the character have a warm, sunny smile and bright green lipstick all the time? Does the character always wear a giant cowboy hat, even in the middle of a movie theater? Describe as much as you want, but come up with a description that would really make your character stand out and help the reader remember them. All right, let's see what we say here in the Q&A box. So Shanna describes their character has glasses and a scar and brown hair. They might be describing Harry Potter. But maybe their character has all those things too. So WJ says that their character would have shiny purple glowing clothes. That's awesome. Mason says the character has bright red hair, green eyes, and is 6 feet tall. Awesome. Addie says that Buzz has very bright ginger hair and wears tattered clothing with boots that are falling apart. Yeah, I feel like I can picture that person in my mind. Isha says they have bright pink nails all the time, along with bright pink hair as well. Very cool. Milo says that the character has elves living in his hair, and he has arms that are coming out of his ears. All right, I think I can picture that. Ethan says that Nate has dark brown hair and blue eyes. He wears dark clothes a lot, trying to blend in with society. Going to a public school, he is a nerd and a bully target. All right. Yeah, I think I can picture that character. Fallon says something about this character is square. Looks like the beginning might have been cut off. But he wears mostly black clothes and keeps to himself. He also has elf ears with a few piercings. He is somewhat tall and lean. Awesome. Very cool. Anjali says, my character has blue hair, is, I'm assuming, 6'3" tall and always shows up late. That's a really good point there. In addition to a physical description, you could also have things that they always do. Always showing up late would be like a good character description that could make me, okay, I can kind of see that person because of the way that they act too. So you guys are putting so many great examples in here, but we have to end off today at 3:10. We have to end off a little bit early. You guys have been amazing. You made great examples. The last thing that I just want to say is that great characters take practice. You just have to keep on writing, keep on practicing, keep coming up with those characters. Use those things we talked about today. Make sure that they have strengths and weaknesses. Do something to make them likable. Even if they're a complicated character, we should still like them. Try to give them a good physical description so that we can see them, and make sure that they have a strong goal that they're going for. If you include all those things with your character, that's a character that people are going to want to read about. So thank you guys for coming today. I'll see you next time. Bye.